welcome to Mixology, where we launch each episode mixing up a beverage as we discuss how customer education and customer marketing mix together as scale engines to customer success. I'm Kristine Kukich, and along with Shannon Howard, we focused our last Series 2 episode on building a unified customer experience, and we drank some holiday cheer while we chatted. Here's the ingredients if you'd like to make your own. Pause the video here and grab all of these ingredients. 4 cranberries, and maybe some extra for garnish. 1.5 ounces of vodka, 3 ounces of tonic water, and 1 ounce of sparkling cider. Muddle the berries in your shaker, then add some ice and the vodka. Shake it up. Then pour it in your glass. Tom Collins or a highball glass will work. I used a fancy goblet from my grandma's collection. Pour in the tonic and the cider, and then add your garnish. I like more cranberries, but you could certainly use fresh rosemary if you like it. And then once you're ready, get comfortable and click play, and we'll get started. This time we are doing, this is holiday cheer. So if you, again, it's red, so the red background shows up. I love muddled cranberry this time. As we move into the holiday season, right? We're getting ready to head into the end of year holidays. So I thought we would put in some sparkles to make that happen with the holiday cheer. The focus this session is on what we're going to do with our kind of content Lego, is the terminology that we came with. I have been using all year, I've been using a triangle as my discussion on this, where we focus on the content from academy, community, and the knowledge base, and how all of that fits together. And I was having this conversation with Debbie Smith at Vizier and Sedma a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about this, and she said, no, don't forget tech docs. So now we have a Lego instead of a triangle, because I kind of agree with that, right? I think that the concept of that is that we have all 4 of these places, right?
Yeah.
Can we
This?
It kind of looks more oval than
I know.
Our than square.
Squares.
But the concept is it's not the same visual. I got to work on a better visual. But the idea behind it is that they all have to talk together. In the content council, we're talking about this in terms of things like federated search, right? I've got the guys at Search Unify coming in next week to talk about it, as a matter of fact. So, but the idea behind that is that our user base should not have to go to all of these places to find things. They should be able to search from anywhere in all of these places and have the search results show up all of the places where we talk about whatever it is they're looking for. So structurally, then, how do we build that kind of an ecosystem? How do we get all 4 of these things in the same place? Is it as easy as just doing federated search? I don't know.
I think that's one of so in the conversations I've had around this, I think we all understand there needs to be kind of one unified customer experience. People might call that a customer portal, because your customer doesn't know what they need or want. They're not like, oh, I need a course on, I need a help article on, I need the technical documentation for, I would like a community post on, right? They're just looking for an answer. They have a question, they're looking for an answer. There's something they need to learn how to do, and they need to learn how to do it. And I think we develop learning content based on what will help someone best learn. And that's why we have these different types, right? Because a course might be a more structured series of learning to teach you foundational concepts so you can kind of build toward an end result, versus a help article might be like, I need to change, I reference jump links a lot. I'm like, go back to that one. How do you do that again? And all I need is like, give me that little snippet of HTML and remind me where to put it and how to close it off. And I just need like that reference piece of content. So that's how we like design content, but the learner is not always thinking like, give me this, or, give me a thing.
Right.
Just asking a question. But I also think you'd be hard pressed to get alignment from all these different teams, because it's like the platform that your knowledge base tends to be in is also your support ticketing platform. So
Most
like
often, yeah.
most often, right? And so that is often its own thing over here. And then your LMS for your academy is over here, may or may not have like a knowledge base or technical documentation, or even just like pages that you can build on. And then community may or may not live in your LMS. And depending on the company, right, your community, if you have like a dedicated community team, it probably doesn't live in these other platforms because they need something more robust, right? So you think about those Koros or higher logic type communities, that's probably, if you run like an enterprise or a more robust community, that's the platform they're going for. It's hard to find a platform that does all of those
All
things
of these things, right?
exceptionally well all at once, you know?
And I think that's where federated search is the helpful tool, because most of these pages, regardless of the vendor that's putting all of this together, will allow you to create a page that would allow for search results from across the board, where
Mhm.
you can do your search. The federated search tools that you use, whether it's Search Unify, Coveo, again, there's many of them out there that you can leverage. The concept then becomes, as you said, it's the customer experience, right? We're creating that one place where we can then see all of the results. I think we have to go back to and talk a little bit about cohesion and consistency, as we always do, right?
Mhm.
The fact that when we are building content, we need to be consistent in the way that we use terminology,
Mhm.
right? The knowledge base, the tech docs, and the academy need to be working from the same perspective in terms of the way they use words to mean specific things.
Sure.
And whether or not we're creating an internal lexicon or dictionary or whatever we want to call it, I don't know that that matters, but I think that
Mhm.
it's really important that we're using the words to mean the same things in at least those three places. Community, because community is driven by the community members, we don't have
Mhm.
as much control over it there, right?
Sure.
Doesn't mean that they won't be using the words that we give them because they
Sure.
learn them that way, but it does mean that they could, it could become misaligned just because of the way that people use language in general.
That also makes me think that part of how we have to design things is thinking about that user experience of what do they say, you know, because especially a new user to your platform who hasn't been indoctrinated to your terminology,
Mhm.
they're not going to say that thing. They're going to say like, like I'm sure that there's a term for it, but in my like over a decade of marketing experience, I don't actually know what it is. I call it a floating page on the internet. This is a non-indexed, non-searchable page. It's not in your navigation. It's a no drop down. It's not in your sitemap. And I just call it a floating page on the internet. This is not the technical term for this, but that's the term that I would use. And when I talk to other people, they're like, no, I get what you're saying. And so
Right.
what is your customer's version of a floating page on the internet? Because they're looking, that's how they're searching, you
Right.
know? And so we do that. We'll look at our searches to be like, what are they looking for? You know, are we using those same search terms? Are the
Are we
things
at
that
least
they're looking
indexing
for
those
pulling
terms,
up?
right? Yeah. Are
Mhm.
we making sure that when they search for them, they can still
Mhm.
find our stuff, even though they're not using the right word,
Oh yeah. Or if
right?
people misspell things, like there's, you know, a lot of people misspell a lot of different words, including your brand name. And so can your search find that, right? Like I was just lamenting the other day that if you I was looking for someone and they go by a short version of their name, but on LinkedIn they have the full version of their name. And if you type in their like first name, nickname, and last name, you cannot find this person. You have to go like full first name, full last name to even find somebody. Why? LinkedIn LinkedIn
Right.
is such a
It should have
site
a powerful
with a
enough
whole
search
team,
that if you use
and
a
they have a great,
shortened name,
but this is where I'm like, is this where AI comes in, right? So you have federated search, but you also have AI and some kind of AI learner assistant that's able to say, hey, Kristine, what is it that you're trying to learn today? How can I help you? And then they're canvassing and saying, hey, based on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to learn, you might be interested in this. And then it can also take into consideration context and
well, and then
potential.
that's where the layering comes in, right? Where we can build in the concept. I think I did a blog post a few months ago on personal assistant, right? Where you can
Mhm.
go ahead and establish that that chatbot combo option. Again, audio or non, right? If you want them to have a voice, please go check out pi.ai. They're funny. Yeah, they're really good. The construct for that then allows you to not have to worry about it, because you're asking your generative AI type question to an agent that then turns around and executes against the language model of that session. Then again, way deep into AI really for this, the response to this, but the idea is the same, right? It's that we're setting an extra layer that is personable and to a certain extent a persona driven, and personalizes the experience, because when you use your terminology and your words, you and I don't use the same words even for some things. And the structure of that says that the agent will learn the way that I speak and the way that you speak, and learn from both of those to deliver content across the board. And I think that's what we're saying here, right? When we talk about being able to share all of that information in one user experience, learner experience. I want to say user experience because I don't think it's just a learner thing. I think it's something that needs to be accessible from within product through, again, whatever tools you're using for just in time activities in product with DAP tools and stuff like that. I think that it's equally important there as it is cross functionally for those different teams that may own different parts of that from a systems perspective, if not from an actual org chart perspective, right?
Okay, so we talk about cohesion and consistency in terms of aligning on the lingo. I would also say it's important to align on what does that look like, right? Like help articles should all roughly look the same. Technical documentation should all kind of follow the same format. So it's not like you can tell that this person created it or this person over here because they all got their own style. Because that can help too with like setting expectations.
Well, and I believe that branding within your brand, your overall brand, branding those pieces individually so that a particular color stands out for support versus knowledge base versus, right? So that when you actually look at it, you can say, that I know that's a tech doc, or I know that's learning, or I know that's right. Just because you can see that the title of the response comes up in blue versus dark purple or orange, or my Sherpa blues, right? I got like 15 different colors of blue. I went monochromatic. On a gold. I added a gold as a complementary color. But right. So but knowing that, and I think that can help, because some people are a little bit more visual in the way that they see things. And that can help really clearly identify. And of course, just general accessibility, right? Making sure that we're tagging things properly anyway, so that if an audio reader is trying to figure it out, it can do the same thing.
Yeah, we've been talking about tagging content and how not every tag has to be visible, but it's more like from a filtering perspective or from like a search perspective that it could find certain things. Yeah, and I think that can be true here. So we talked about unified search. I've talked to people just about like a universal navigation of there should be a way to get to your product, your community, your help center, your LMS from one thing. And it could literally just be in the navigation where you know that that's where it always is. So if you're in your help site, you can often customize that and it can just link out. And you on your website, it can link out. In your product, it can link out. It doesn't all have to be in the same place, because for most of us, it isn't. So that's like a nice little
right. And but again, from a solid user experience and single sign-on, of course, right? Because we got to have single sign-on to all of this so that it all works properly. But the idea is that the movement within those different backends is seamless. That's what builds a cohesive customer experience. Is they don't need to know that it's 12 different systems on the back end. All they know is that if they click on this menu option, it takes them where they want to go.
That's a good point of because I think we often feel constricted by, well, I need to get all of this in one platform. And I just don't know, after like years of talking to people about this, I just don't know that we're going to get there, because I don't think that your community team is going to sacrifice certain things, or your support team is going to sacrifice
Exactly.
things.
Exactly.
And that's okay. So then how do we create a better user experience where it doesn't require learners to have like log into all these 17 different platforms, and then, they can never find anything. And that's, I think that
Well,
that
and
always
then
gets.
we end up duplicating our content sometimes as well, just because it is housed in those separate locations. And that's
Mhm,
the one thing that I really want to prevent with
mhm,
this is I want to prevent us from having to create the same piece of content so that it lives in 12 different places, or 8 of the 12 different places that we need it to be housed in. And that's because that's what causes us the headaches later when we
mhm,
have to maintain
mhm.
all 8 different versions, particularly if we haven't yet figured out how to uh, contextualize the content properly so that we can share it, right?
Mm. Yeah, I
Because
feel like
I don't want
it's,
to have to maintain 8 copies of this or 12 copies of this. I really don't.
and you shouldn't have to.
Right. So
Um, so our last question on this idea of this like Lego, the Tech Docs Academy community knowledge base, is should we share feedback, right? And so we've kind of talked about that with this like layer over it that would allow you to search them all. What about sharing feedback between these platforms?
a part of me says yes, because data all in one place means better data later on, regardless of who needs it. So if we're capturing all of this information and any feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down for a knowledge base article, comments in community, right? Additional comment on somebody else's post.
Or upvoting or
Right,
downvoting.
exactly, right. Tracking all of the ways that people are using the information that we provide. It not only gives us better information, but it also gives other teams better information. We'll see better information in support,
Mhm,
because then they can see, we can tell what happens if they make a suggestion, or if our chatbot, right, let's say we go digital first and we
mhm,
grab a chatbot for support, and the first thing that's presented to people is, have you seen this course yet? You might want to start here if your knowledge level is whatever, right? As you're just getting started, you need the overview to really understand your decisions moving forward. Start here.
mhm,
And that takes them to the learning portal, where they then get an opportunity to review the content on, this is why this is so important, and this is how you configure it. And then that content becomes, we've talked before about higher level questions, right? When people take learning, the questions they ask in support are usually elevated types of questions. It's not that they stop asking questions, it's that their questions become more complex,
mhm,
right? So the digital first is, they're going to skip over that almost immediately, because the question isn't covered in what
mhm.
we would consider to be the proper level for digital first activity. The same would be true of CSMs, right? Again, if they don't have to answer those types of questions, they can, as we were talking about earlier today, we were talking about the concept of CSMs as trusted advisors, right? As significant strategy people to help you be more successful with my product.
Mhm.
And the best way to do that is to give them the time to do that. You can still tell it's a cat, even though you're blurred. So,
They're both here. The cat came to visit. Um,
I see, my vote is yes.
okay. Um, I'm trying now. I have to pull the question back up because now I'm even forgetting what the question was. Should you share feedback? Yeah, I mean, I'm also yes, because I just think it helps us all get better, right? And to your point of thumbs up, thumbs down, upvoting, downvoting, it can also help us give better information, right? So it's like a course designer might look at the community and say, hey, like these are the best practices and recommendations that are like, these are the things that have been recommended by 100 different people or been upvoted. So they can pull that into content or update help articles, right? Like sometimes we create things based on our knowledge of our product, but then our customers might have a totally different. I was saying this to someone earlier. There are people who have been using our platform for 15 years. Like they know the ins and outs better than most of us
Right.
do. And so let's hear from them. Like, what are you doing? How do you do that? Because they might have a hack that we don't know about yet.
Well, and it changes use case too, right? Because they have different use cases that they've come up with that I've always been a believer that our customers will use our products in ways we never thought. We
Oh,
never
yeah.
thought that was not our design intent at all.
No. Oh, no. I mean, we all hack things. We all hack things. The number of times that I was like, use a HubSpot workflow for a makeshift course, it's not ideal, but you know, it's somewhere to start and you can create a proof of concept and go from there. It's like, is that what that's created for? Absolutely not. It's created for automation and nurtures, but you can, you know, and we've all done that. We've all hacked something for what it wasn't intended for. Yeah. So share feedback between platforms. Is that it? We're, you know,
That's it.
collaborate.
Yep. And what I think that's it, right? The whole concept is we definitely need to just collaborate. And if we do that and we build the systems to collaborate, to help us collaborate, then our customers get a better experience.
Which is what we're all about. So
Exactly.
yeah,
That's the end.
that's the end. All right.
Better
Cool.
customer experience. All right. See you
All right.
next time, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.